This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Hey everybody, I want you to enjoy this small clip from the Capes and Lunatics podcast that I was on, where we interviewed JMD Mateus. This is about a very special part that's close to my heart. Check this out, and then go over to Capes and Lunatics and check out the full interview. Well, not like I said, I was reviewing your IMDb credits just because I was compiling some things. Because I'm a huge Superman fan. You can't really tell based on my hold on. There you go. Now you can see my room.
Not Superman at all.
But
there we go.
I was looking through.
No, what do you mean? I can't tell. What?
I told my kids, like, yeah, he had wrote for Superboy and everything, and we just did a wrap up of the Superboy series.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then I saw that you were the one that had adapted the Justice League Unlimited episode for the Man Who Had Everything.
Yeah.
And we're doing a podcast later where that's going to come up. Can you just tell me a little bit about that? Because I think your adaptation is the best version of that story. And when I met George Newbern last year, I told him before, he's my favorite voice of Superman because of the way he delivered. He got a lot of great lines through his career, and one being that the lines in that episode. Could you just tell a little bit about what it was like taking on that story and having to adapt it for an episode?
As I've said before, the real grace of me working on that was that I had not read that story before. I did not know its legendary status, because I think if I had, I would have been very, very intimidated. That was the first episode that I wrote for Justice League Unlimited, and I worked mainly with Stan Berkowitz and Dwayne McDuffie on that show. And they said, we're going to adapt this story. I said, okay, send it to me. I'll read it. So I read it. Oh, this is a great story, but I didn't know about its status, that it was this sort of towering monolith of a story that people bowed before and worshipped, So, the basic, again, the basic story part of it, not the teleplay part, but the story part of it, we worked out between us, notes from the guys. I wrote an outline. They gave me notes. They changed this. I fixed that, whatever. And then the teleplay, this was the first script I did for them. This story always makes me laugh for a number of reasons. So I write the teleplay, I turn it in, and I get no reply. And I'm waiting. That's the first episode I've done for the show. So, being a neurotic freelancer, my first thought is, I've completely screwed this up. These guys will never give me work again. And time goes by, and finally, I reached out to Stan Berkowitz, and Stan and I go back because Stan was the producer on the Superboy show. So that's how Stan and I knew each other, and that was my door into Justice League Unlimited. He said, no, it was great. We don't need another draft, because usually there's 3 drafts and a polish or whatever. And I'm like, well, this is going to be great working on this show. I'm only going to have to write 1 draft. Well, believe me, by the next script that I wrote, it was like 3 drafts and a polish or whatever it was. But yeah, no, it was for that to be my first episode of the show, and that show in general, Justice League Unlimited, it was a great show to work for. But as the years have passed, its reputation has risen. I meet so many people who love that show, and I really think it's one of the very, very, and this has nothing to do with my contributions. It's all those guys. One of the best iterations of the Justice League ever done by anybody in any media. Fantastic job they did.
I mean, that's why it endures now. All right, here we go. I'm gonna clap. 2 minutes. Welcome to the Krypton Report. We have officially released Allura. She's free. I repeat, she's free. She's on the prowl. She's coming. Arr.
She's on a rampage.
She's got a red ring. Oh no, James, are you okay? She's got the red power.
Got to find a way to destroy this red kryptonite she's under.
Well, we'll have to say we'll check in later with James. But hey, it's me, Tyler. James and the family are here, and it's time for another episode of the Krypton Report. Glad you could join us. We got some news, and we're going to talk about my adventures with Superman today. But first, James, we were going to do a live watch of this, but with my busy schedule. Have not been able to because of work. But did you know it is also the 10-year anniversary of Suicide Squad? What are some of your thoughts on it looking back over 10 years, James?
Well, you know, I haven't watched that one in a couple of years. And I do have some good, you know, I want to rewatch it again because it does have some good parts and some good moments. The cast is pretty great. The effects are awesome, especially the makeup effects. But you know, it's sad to see how they edited the film the way that they did, you know, to put it out, to change the tone and everything. I think it still made money, and I think most people that saw it had a good time with it. You know, but once it became the thing to do to hate on it on the internet, that's when everything, because you know it made good money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think people liked it and saw it when it was out, and they were enjoying it. And then, you know, as soon as it became the thing to crap on it online, that was it. You know, it was people were hating on BVS, and then it became, you know, just like the whole everything DC basically. After that, it was just run across, you know?
You know, my thing was, I look back, it was weird because that movie proves to you that a film is made in editing. No matter how great you shoot it, how great you act, the editing is going to make or break it. Like Jared Leto's Joker, I think would have been really great had they not chopped up his part.
I agree. You know, his Joker was still, I think it would still have detractors, mainly just because of the look. But I think the portrayal probably would have been there.
I like the hair. I like the white skin. He was creepy in some parts. And I mean, that's the problem is the film works. It's like a giant montage. It's like montage, needle drop, up until the helicopter crashes. And then
that's how they changed the tone and the film through the editing, you know?
And that's the thing that kills it, because you lose a lot. I haven't watched the theatrical cut since the theater. I like the extended cut because you see a little bit more of Harley and her psychosis. But I mean, this is probably Jai Courtney's best movie. This is a great return for Will Smith. I mean, it has awesome Batman scenes in it. It looks great. I mean, that first trailer that the leak from Comic-Con that they had to release looked great. And there are so many scenes in this movie that were cut. And for all those listening, if you stick around after James and I's main conversation, you're going to hear where I talk about the novelization of the Suicide Squad and how it worked compared to the film we got. And there's good stuff in there, but it lost what it was trying to do. It was reactionary. And I wish this is a film.
Well, reactionary is the definition of what Warner Brothers did with DC, you know? As soon as Batman versus Superman didn't crack $1 billion, like, they had to try and they changed everything they could every step of the way, trying to reach that.
The only
know?
way you crack
And they
$1 billion
wanted-
is you give people something unique. Every now and then you'll have something as a fluke. Joker was a fluke. That's why the first one made $1 billion, and then number 2 tanked.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
you
that's they wanted this movie to be Guardians, you know? They wanted it to be their version of Guardians, so they wanted to mirror that tone.
but you don't do that in editing. You do that during filming, because when you've made a movie one way and then you try to edit it to be something else, you have lost the film.
That could be part of the problem with Supergirl.
It is. We talked about that you can tell that film was cut shorter. I don't know why it's as short as it is. They tried to make it quick, and it feels more like a James Gunn film than it does a Craig Gillespie film.
Well, and also when you talk about a James Gunn film, like when he writes his movies and his needle drops in there, for the most part, the scenes are written around the music, you know? That's part, it's written into the movie, it's written into the scene, the way he designs it. He said that multiple times. So when you take a movie and you just try and edit it and throw in needle drops, you get Suicide Squad. You get some of the things that happened with Supergirl.
And I am not a huge fan of a lot of needle drops. We've talked about this multiple times. In these type of films. But another thing is everyone talks where there was that line in Peacemaker about Rick had been dating June. I don't consider Suicide Squad connected to the Suicide Squad anymore, since we're now in the DC universe. He could just be dating June on his Earth, not Suicide Squad June. So that's just my 2 cents, just based on tonality and how Gunn has shaped the DC universe. I do think the editing's what killed that film, and it could have been a lot of a better movie if they hadn't done what they did to it. Because no one's really talking about it for the 10-year anniversary. And it's kind of sad because it did make money, got an Oscar. It was huge. It was the second DC film of that year. We were really starting with the DC universe. It was the third.
Oh
film.
yeah, between that movie and BVS that year, the DCU brought in that would be about 1.5 to 1.6 billion off those 2 movies that year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they were like, DC a flop. 800 and 700 million.
It's what do you call it? The coolest thing about the Suicide Squad period, just is to do sequels. All you really need is Waller and Flag, and I like Joel Kinnaman as Flag, so I wish we would have got more of him. But at least they found a way to do some unique stuff with Flag. But speaking of Waller, we're going to transition to some news here. Reported by Variety, the Amanda Waller series and the Wonder Woman prequel Paradise Lost no longer in active development at DC Studios. Well, that sucks.
I mean, the Waller does suck because Viola Davis is
amazing.
Great, is amazing. She's perfect, Amanda Waller.
And there's so much you can do with the Waller series. You can loop it into because
but how essential are you going to make it? Because what does a lot of people keep saying? How many lower tier characters, that they're trying to make projects off of because of James Gunn, doing the Suicide Squad, doing Peacemaker, doing Creature Commandos,
Well, Waller's
essentially
a
doing
series-
Waller. But Waller could touch all kinds of things, you know what I mean? But what
Waller-
kind of budget, what kind of is it going to be a centerpiece? Can you sell it as a centerpiece for a part of your universe story or your chapter story? You know what I mean?
A Waller show could touch, depending on how you do. If it's her running, wherever she's at now. After,
but is it going to be a $200 million budget like you would put forth with a
Peacemaker
big movie that you're trying to bring to life? Or
well, you could have made it like a 6-episode series. Use it about how she's hunting metahumans, or she's on the run, or loses control after everything that happened during Creature Commandos. We could have met a couple of live action Creature Commandos. We could have introduced characters like that she knows or controls.
I absolutely could see us getting that. But, with the way that like the productions have come out, plans have changed, the movies that are happening.
And that's like going back and looking at James Gunn's announcement for the DC universe. Like, other than Superman and Supergirl, what's really happened?
Right. Like Paradise Lost, are we going to do the Amazons or are we going to do Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I don't really care about that one.
You know what I mean?
I don't need a prequel Wonder Woman series or an Amazon series because there's so many of them on the island or them being persecuted. And I don't need that.
Yeah. Amanda Waller as a go-between who shows up in a lot of cameo roles between movies and shows. I mean, I think that would be the best way to go. I don't know what the plan is. Gods and monsters. We kind of had that idea going, but is that still a thing?
We don't.
Sanctuary is kind of the only hint to the future of the DC universe that we got, and so far we have nothing that's touched it or mentioned it or anything.
Right. Just because we ended that on Peacemaker and Supergirl was in space.
Yep. Not on Earth.
Yep. All right. Next piece of news I got dun 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 is some sad news. Actress Lucy Davis, best known for playing in the British UK, but DC fans would know her as Etta Candy in Wonder Woman, was diagnosed 1 year ago with stage 4 breast cancer, which has now metastasized to her bones and her spine, and it's too late for chemo, and basically she's just preparing for death.
Yeah, that was super sad news.
We've actually interacted with her before on X and stuff. She seemed really cool. She'd comment on some stuff, and it's very heartbreaking to hear. So we just wish her the best that we can. So everybody just, love the people, love your friends.
Yep.
Know you care.
When you're in that situation, you just wish for the best and hope they have the best.
So it's tough. Moving on. DC has launched 3 special covers. One for Detective, one for Justice League Unlimited, and one for Superman number 41, all for Stewart Fails to Save the Universe. Superman features Superman holding Stewart, much like the Crisis cover of him and Supergirl.
That's amazing.
Which is probably my favorite. I do like the Detective 1112. Where it's like you have Batman staring at Kripke, you have Superman chilling, and you have Wonder Woman and everything.
Yeah, it's the main four with the Trinity.
Yeah. I like it with Brainiac in the background. And then the Justice League has them looking like the comic convention and the 4 characters on the panel.
Yeah.
So,
which Stewart Fails to Save the Universe is awesome and just got renewed for season 2.
I have not watched the newest episode just because Solomon and I have been busy. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Thursday night at 9 thing now.
I feel you. Oh, let's see here. That holiday coming up called Batman Day is coming, and here's some Batman-related news. Number 1, this awesome McFarlane Bane figure that James is drooling over.
Yeah, I have to have it. I need a McFarlane Bane.
Yeah, you do. What I think's neat is
that's what you're getting me for Christmas.
Okay.
On Batman Day in certain stores, they're doing these dollar comics again, the Start Here #1s, which I love these books. These are books I love to give to people. Someone buy some. We have Batman #1, the Rebirth Era. We have Batman Dark Patterns #1, which I have not read Dark Patterns yet. We have Batman The White Knight, which I did read a long time ago. And Batman #1 from the New 52, which is the Court of Owls. So I'm probably going to buy a couple copies of the Court of Owls and the Rebirth and like kind of give out to some kids and stuff. So like just kind of get them some good Batman comics. Cinemark Theaters.
Oh yeah, seminal issues. You got to check those out.
Has a Batman 66 extra large Batmobile popcorn bucket that shines the bat signal coming for Batman Day.
That might be worth it. I don't buy too many popcorn buckets, and I usually only get like the tins.
Yeah,
but that's kind of cool, and it has a 66 bat signal. That's sweet.
So that is sweet. But then look, they announced what films they're putting back in theaters. It's Batman 89, The Lego Batman, and Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Will be tickets on sale now for Batman Day celebration starting September 18th. And I'm like, man, I say that because I really am trying to see all the Batman movies in the theaters with the kids. And we met last time they put the Nolan trilogy in. I didn't get to do it, but I want to see Batman and Robin in theaters. Like I'm hoping that next year they put it back in for the 20th anniversary.
That would be cool for Batman Day, yeah.
Because I think you have a whole new fan base that has an appreciation of that film, and just for the fun that it is.
Is it the 30th anniversary? 97?
Yeah, I said.
You
Yeah,
said
20th. Yes, the 30th.
You said
yeah.
20th. I was like, no.
Yeah, no.
I was like, no, that's 30th. Holy balls.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I saw that in theater.
So did I, James. But so we might go back to the theater and see Mask of the Phantasm again. Because Jania didn't get to go last time when we went. Because I have no desire to see the Lego Batman movie ever again.
I do not want to pay to go to the theater to see it again. I would only go to see 89 and Mask of the Phantasm.
See, that's the thing is I saw 89 when we did it. We've done 89, Returns, Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Forever.
Well, I haven't done any of the re-releases in theaters. So
I would like to see Batman and Robin. I even like Batman 66 would have been cool. So if you're doing that popcorn bucket, it's like, come on.
Yeah, go along with that for sure.
Let's see.
I would pay to go see Batman 66 on the big screen.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be different.
The 1966 movie, heck yeah.
And then the last piece of news I got here is Nathan Fillion is joining DC's Mr. Miracle animated show in his latest appearance as Guy Gardner.
See, Guy is the Waller now. He's going to every project.
And it's just kind of funny that it's Guy Gardner that we're like hinging everything on.
I mean, as kind of like the connective tissue, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know about hinging everything on, but certainly like kind of like your through line. I don't know. Through line's not the right word either.
Yeah, I know. Like,
But yeah, just your connective cameo.
and it's just kind of funny. You're like Guy Gardner. If you would have told us
I mean,
that when we were younger, we would have laughed in your face. But then you're like, it's Nathan Fillion.
we would have, but absolutely, it's Nathan Fillion. So I'm gonna be excited to see him in Lanterns, and I can't wait to catch him in Mr. Miracle.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a special appearance somehow.
I would love to see how they animate him
in Creature Commando season 2.
Yeah,
just in the background or something.
Well, him and Alan Tudyk. I mean, if you've got Dr. Phosphorus there again, you just got him talking. Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk. I mean, they talk all the time. It's like two buddies.
So that's all the news I got. And now it's time to get into one of the greatest Superman shows to come along in forever. I'm telling you, dude, I've got more emotional watching this show than I have some other like shows recently. My Adventures with Superman has been such a blessing and just a great show to watch with the family. And we're kicking off, we're going to be talking about season 3. And the thing is, as of this recording, season 3 is doing well, but DC Studios Superman series, The Future, hasn't been just I can't talk. I'm done. They have not renewed it for season 4 yet.
Well, that's just terrible.
See, I thought when they renewed it for season 3, it was a season 3 and 4 order. But it was just for season 3. So right now we have no season 4 coming up. So the finale of season 3 could be the show's finale.
Which would be incredibly disappointing to end it there. We've gotten quite a bit of lore within the 3 seasons of this show, though.
Oh my gosh, dude! The lore is the best way I can describe it is they've been true to it, but they've been ways to remix things. And you look at the history of the character and everything else, like we remixed it and presented it to a new audience. So episode 1 was called Into the New World. Lois and her dad ruin Halloween. Kara likes Jimmy. Superman makes a friend, and the gang has a bizarre adventure. I like that this episode started on Halloween. How are you feeling about this episode? Like, we'll just kind of go episode by episode.
I mean, just the way this season kicked off, it was fantastic. Of course, I love that it started on Halloween. It's like my favorite time of year. So,
I know fall. I love fall, and just giving us another like something to throw on. Like, oh, I can watch this in the background, at fall time. It just makes it so much nicer. So, this episode, we see it picks up kind of where we left off with Lois and her dad. And I like Kara's kind of fish out of water, but she's like really happy to be there. Like, so in episode 2, it's called Mobile Suit Toy Man, right? We also find out in the first one that we basically stumble into like Cadmus, and how they basically made Bizarro. So let's just go ahead and hit on it here. I like the way they did Bizarro as more of this bigger, hulkier, kinder, just misunderstood clone.
Right.
And we weren't getting the me-ams or anything like that. He was just a big clone.
Yep. And he started off nice. I love that in Cadmus, we find that the scientist who was taking care of him was doing exactly that, taking care of him, teaching him to be a good person, and that was his background.
In episode 2, and he gets free, he gets away, and that's all we kind of see of him for now. Later on, we find out he set up an ice cream shop, and then he shows up later in his own kind of homemade Superman suit.
Mm-hmm.
And to help and do good and everything. In episode 2, Mobile Suit Toyman, they are basically at a convention, and Supergirl, we see that Supergirl just lives out in the open. She's just Supergirl. And
get the introduction to Jimmy's comic books.
Yeah. Toyman makes like a huge suit from his whole
Well, it's funny. He's there, and Lois is saying it's Winslow Shot, the Toy Man. He's evil. He's here to do something, pull some sort of heist, this or that. And he's really only there to just sell his toys. But she kind of pushes and pushes and pushes, so he activates a mobile suit toy, a mobile suit Gundam that he has. Because of course he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to go straight, he's still traveling with the mobile suit. But yeah, that's and with that, it allows Hank Henshaw as a new Superman to show up and save the day.
And the way they do Hank Henshaw in this is interesting. Like, he's part machine. He looks human though, and everyone's cheering for him. But then he flips.
Yeah, I mean, as we go forward, I know we're kind of going episode by episode, but I figure we could still talk about it a little bit as a whole here. As we go forward here, he goes from he's a hybrid of Cyborg, Superman, and Metallo.
Yes.
He's even kind of got a fake skin that eventually starts to become damaged and come off, and that's where he's got the half cyborg Superman look going on.
And he's only he's in for a few episodes, and then he's we find out he's like this big huge threat, and the pacing for this season is awesome. Jimmy in All's Fair in Love and Worms. Jimmy is changed by a big date. Kara gets on the apps. Lois sings the blues. Superman destroys Clark's Saturday. This one was hilarious because Jimmy is like dating. He gets turned into a wolf, and it was hilarious because the worms, I can't remember what it stands for, is doing like this genetic work.
It's the World Organization for Romantic Matchmaking Science.
And
worms.
At the part where he goes, he goes, I'm a wolf, right? And like, it was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I loved that. I love that they pulled the Adventures of Jimmy Olsen stories, like him being transformed into different creatures and beings and whatnot. They not only made it into like a comic in the show, but um, tying that to his roundabout dating and not dating of Kara. And he goes on these blind dates with this matchmaking service, and he gets transformed into all these different things is a hilarious way to, bring that about. That it's not just like random adventures mishap with Superman or something like that. He's out there doing this weird dating group, and he's being transformed into these creatures, because they do mention him turning into a turtle or turn him into a turtle at some point. They didn't do the giant turtle in the show, but
they did what do you call it? They turned Lois into a cat, and Jimmy got turned into a turtle, and then eventually they were able to fix everybody. Guess who slammed into dinner was episode 4.
Well, in episode 3, the funniest thing I find about episode 3, it comes from episode 2, where at the toy convention, Clark gets a miniature farm. Mm-hmm. And he is just so excited putting together his miniature farm in episode 3. And it's hilarious because it shows up throughout the rest of the season and in the credits at the end of each episode. There's even a scene in episode 3 where it's got like him and Lois and a little crib, and Lois kind of freaks out looking at the little crib in the diorama.
It's funny because, because dang it, I can't even talk anymore. I'm done. I'm so done because I cannot talk today. I'm getting bombarded with.
Oh, and we got Giganta. I forgot we got Giganta.
I knew there was someone we were missing. Jimmy with Giganta was hilarious.
But I kind of cut you off there a little bit. Episode 4, you were.
No, I was like,
guess who's.
Clark and Lois get pound cake. A stranger comes to brunch. Jimmy gets to be right, and Hank shakes things up. So basically, this is a big one where, this is where Jonathan shows up, and from the future, and we learn that Hank Henshaw basically destroys everything in the future, and it's really great, just the chemistry between the cat, like the art and everything of how Lois is looking at him and she freaks out because it's Mom, and we get him talking about what Hank is going to do and how they have to stop Henshaw, and there's like parts where they act the same and you're like, oh yeah,
they're like standing outside and she's like, don't you even want to like figure this out, like you believe this guy? And they do the exact same mannerisms, and Superman and Kara are like, yeah, like you guys look exactly alike.
And this is very much like John Kent Superboy in the comics kind of things.
Yeah. Which was an awesome twist for the show. We were talking and excited about Superboy coming to the show, and from the look, the representation, we expected it to be Connor. And come to find out, it's John Kent from the future.
And then it ties into the next episode, which is the death of Superman. And I'm glad they didn't kill Superman, but the death is referring to Hank Henshaw. And this episode was the part that really gets you is when you find out that Clark and Lois are both dead in the future, and it was actually Kara that raised John.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, Aunt Kara, it's because of this. And it shows the flashbacks, and it just like melts. Because she's like, Jonathan, well, how does she say it? She's like, Jonathan L., why do you not look at me? And he breaks down and says, it's because you raised me, and tells her everything. And I think Kara's like MVP of this series. But that ties into, so they destroy Hank Henshaw, but in the process, Clark loses his powers. Jonathan goes back to his time, and we see some stuff's not right. Then Party Animals has a great scene where it says the gang goes to a charity gala. Lois tries to win. Clark tries to help. Jimmy's date makes a scene, and Kara cleans it up. So Kara's up for an award. Lois is up for an award. Vicky Vale shows up, trying to cause some problems. Clark, with no powers, jumps in the way, trying to protect Flip and the crew. And I thought they were going to go with kind of an up and away thing, where him, trying to save them was going to, kickstart his powers back.
Right.
But it didn't. He got shot in the arm. And, it's Clark dealing with, am I good? Can I do anything? Am I helpless without my powers? And we have more, issues with Jimmy. Jimmy does a thing where he likes Kara so much, but because he feels she only knows him, she likes him, but he wants her to like him for more. So he's trying to let her date and everything, and he's trying to like do it, one of those, I do it for your own good, but it's not really working the way he wants. It's backfiring for him.
And let her get some experience.
So it's just kind of, it was like, you kind of feel bad for the guy.
But then we get Mark the name drop of Markovia. And the villain here is Dr. Poison,
which I thought was great.
Yeah, I thought that was an awesome twist.
And then, and we didn't get. Did we get any Perry in this season?
No, I don't think so.
Wait, do we even see them at? Do we
at the Daily Planet? I don't think so.
Because we know we got Lombard like a couple times, but for the most part, I don't think we ever
get
saw
to see Grant. We get to see Kat. She's in this episode,
but we don't see.
Or was she in the con episode? I think it was the con episode.
Yeah, Kat was in the con episode. Vicky Vale was in the Party Animals.
They talked to Ron on the phone. They talked to Ronnie on the phone.
Okay, I'm about to say, I know, like,
but that's,
Ronnie
I think that's
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear there's a mention of Perry. I don't know if he's in here though.
If he is, it's in this episode because of Flip in them.
Oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, you're right. Because of Flip in them, because they go and they say something about it's the interns, and Perry said, "We're your problem now, Jimmy." And he kind of looks over at Perry and he kind of gives him a wave or whatever. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That might be it.
Then the next episode 7 is called the X Games. This was neat. They're all in like their beachwear, and it's hosted by Mixus Pitalik. This one was cool, but at the same time, it feels the most probably filler. But it's more about like Clark without his powers. You meet the funniest parts when they're introducing the others that were gathered from across the multiverse, and it's like super powered people. It's like Clark and Lex, and Jimmy's like, "Oh, it's just me," And then he like pulls out a super uniform of like mechanical, and he's like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, but he's Jimmy Flamebird.
Yeah, Jimmy Flamebird. Wow.
Nope, way cooler than me.
Jimmy's got some great dialogue, and I think that's what's so. There's so much fun to be had with these characters, and you care about these characters, and it's a great show.
And they still have the running long Flamebird joke. There's inside jokes the whole time, from beginning to end.
Hold on, I'm gonna pause this real quick. All right, we're back. I got to take a pause, and I'm sharing that because I've been a little slow because there's been some crazy stuff going on here at the house that I had to take care of, and I was searching for an important email that I should have received a long time ago, and everything. So everything seems to be kosher and good, and here we're getting back into it. So I apologize for the craziness of this episode. But episode 8, it's raining supermen. I feel like I should have a question mark at the end. But Clark and Lois face the future again. And this is where we get John's return, but this time we get James, drumroll.
Lara.
His twin sister. And this is kind of like how they did, if you think about Superman and Lois, how they had just one baby and then the twin. So now they have a boy and girl twin. And this Jonathan is not the same Jonathan we met before. The future's been changed again, which is an interesting thought, okay? And I'll hold off that in a second. He's much more angry. He's got more Connor in him now. He's very much like Connor compared to before, where he was very much like Jonathan. And this is when Luthor has created his own weapons, and this because he's the responsible now for the horrible future, and it's a prototype that Waller tries to shut down that they activate that's like connected to his mind, and the twins are trying to fight. Clark is powerless, Kara is there, and then episode
and what are they called? And what are they called, Tyler? What are Lex Luthor's?
Oh, Eradicators.
Yeah, they're the Eradicators.
And it's like huge and hulking, and I mean the next episodes all kind of roll into each other because the Eradicator, this Eradicator is like a mixture of the Eradicator and Azad and Doomsday. Without doing Doomsday, they kind of did Doomsday without doing Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
Because so the next 3, like I said, episodes kind of roll into each other because episode 9
and with the original look of the Eradicator in episode 8, you can see that Bizarro was like a precursor to this.
Yes. You can see him messing with the genetics. And then the next one, Va Vicus or whatever, however you would say it, is when Clark seeing visions goes to the fortress that's run by Brainiac-styled robots that show Kaluans in the past and everything. And it's very trippy while the rest of them are battling, and John like cuts the Eradicator in half, but it grows another one and becomes more deadly. And it's all kind of set up because they're basically being beat up. And like I said, Clark's in the fortress. He got his fortress. He found it. And then the last episode, The Return, starts, with them fighting this Eradicator. Lex actually tries to be good for a second. Oh, we didn't talk about, hold on, in It's Raining Supermen, where it almost fakes us out that Kara dies because she takes a hit for her family, and like she has like a red electricity, and it really makes you feel like she died. And it wasn't until episode 9 that she starts where Jimmy's like, she's barely breathing, and like 8, 9, and 10 is just like I said, they roll into each other, and it was a really strong. Because I thought they killed Kara. I was mad.
I almost thought maybe they did too.
Sayla was pissed.
But she was just knocked out, knocked unconscious. Jimmy stayed by her side the entire time.
We see that Bizarro went with Clark to the fortress. He joined the group, and in episode 10, basically it gets really trippy, and I need to watch it again because I couldn't figure out, is it like a miniature sun or what exactly this Sun Rao deity? Like, it's very high concept at the end of how he gets his powers back. Like, I kept joking the whole time, like, throw him in the sun, you know, take him to the sun.
Right.
And but they're having the last battle with the Eradicator. Luther actually tries to save everyone, and at the end, Clark shows up in like some sweet Kryptonian armor, gold, and
decked out in white and gold.
And we see them. So the Eradicator makes a bunch of clone like things, and then Bizarro shows up, and Clark calls him cousin. He recognizes him as a familial force and brings him into the fold. And
I did love back in the fortress how Bizarro had a black and silver suit with the symbol was reversed on that as well.
It was. There's so much
the
more
only
detail.
use of the black and silver in the series, and it was kind of like mind controlling Bizarro in the moment that it was there.
I was gonna go back and take notes over every episode, but I've been. What's wrong?
I did not get a chance to I wanted to rewatch the whole thing before we talked about it, but I watched every episode at least twice, except for the finale. So.
Yeah, I wanted to rewatch and take, like I said, notes, but because of my work and on the call schedule and everything, I have not had the chance. But Clark gives a huge speech about living and what that means, and how the Eradicator, who then takes on a form that was strikingly like Zod. He's fighting, and what do you call it? He gets to the point where you think he starts to lose, but he like starts punching with all the fury of the sun. It's epic, and he eventually defeats the Eradicator.
The Eradicator just kind of once every time he hit him with that power, like he knocked him back a stage.
Yeah.
So like
his evolution
was
going backwards.
Yeah. So he was like that Zod, or that I guess he was almost Zod or Jor-El look, without the eye patch that Jor-El had. But he hit him, and then he went back to that tall, slender character.
That was more like Lex looking.
That way, yeah. When he showed back up from the future before he got split in half, and then he hit him again, and he turns into the Bizarro version where he had like 4 or 6 arms or something.
Which reminds me of the Doomsday idea they had for the Tim Burton Superman Lives film.
Okay.
Because he was supposed to have like 4 arms.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then after he pounded that into the ground, it just kind of crumbled away,
Yeah. It was intensely beautiful. And when I was like, me and Janine are both like, are you in tears? Yes, I'm in tears. You're in tears. It was just such a strong, powerful episode. And we see Luther getting put in prison, and he makes a comment to Waller about my deep space research and what I saw in space. With what I saw, you would be scared too. And what would you do to feel safe again?
Yeah.
Because it kind of parodies where Superman was talking, and he talked about, Luther lives in fear. constant fear of not feeling safe and not in control. And that's something the Eradicator shared. And I think this was a fresh take of kind of doing like a Death of Superman story with those elements, you know. That's why.
Yeah. Death of Superman, very, very Smallville death of Clark Kent, right?
Yeah.
Where he just kind of walks off, except this time he loses his powers in that regard.
But what I'm trying to remember, Clark has the blue like electricity power that kind of shoots out. Kara's is red. Lara's
Jonathan's
was purple.
and Lara's was purple.
Well, that's what I was trying to remember. If they both were purple.
Yeah, they both went purple. Yeah, and then Bizarro's actually went black.
Yeah,
like Eradicator, his energy. Yeah, his eyes and the electricity that shot out was like a black light.
Black light, dude.
Yeah, right.
And it just made him feel very harmonious how they kept Bizarro and made him part of the story. I mean, it was a great season. I might just rewatch the entire series again, because it's just on point. We need season 4. Renew for season 4. # season 4.
Yep. Hashtag Moz season 4.
So, but the big thing was at the end where Clark had, you know, talking about a future with Lois and she was scared. She presents to him little figures for his farmhouse of him and her. But it's actually,
which he was really excited about.
But it was actually a ring box, and she proposes to him, which I thought was kind of funny, subversive and funny. Some people probably complain about it, but I thought the fact that, you know, Clark was so ready and committed to her, but she was so scared to commit. It took that.
There was no question about Clark's, you know, level there. And
dude, my new
throughout the season, it was hers. It was her questioning that.
My favorite meme to share now is the part where Clark was at the Worms episode, and he's like, "Ma'am, I'm in a committed relationship. I'm in a serious committed relationship." But here's the sad part. Okay, we know that when John, because they do a whole thing that talked about the Eradicator enter the time stream, and he has a line about how in every timeline he beats them and kills them, and everything.
But somebody always escapes. That was his line.
And so when John and Laura return, are they both going to be in the future? The future's unset yet, or what? You know,
no fate. The future is what
you. But like, you know, the first time it was just John. So will Laura even exist by the time, you know, as the future goes? We don't know.
Right. What time? Because when they returned back to the future, John returned as a completely different person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
his future was different. What he experienced was different. You know, he didn't even experience that first time back.
No, he had no idea when they were making comments. He was like, "What?" We learned that Lois was the general. She sent them back. But it's a great show. I woke up this morning. We usually watch it when we first wake up, and I woke up later and I already had messages from our friend Brad, like if I had seen it yet, because he's like, "Did you see it yet? It's so crazy. It's so good." And I was like, "Oh man, I haven't." So I look forward to rewatching
it. I think we've said this all along. It's so anime and it's so good.
And I don't like anime, but I love this.
Yeah.
And I just wish that this was something.
I love anime, but you don't.
This is what they could be using to build a new kid fan base. This should be on like regular cartoons.
Yeah, there is no reason that this needs to be dropped on Adult Swim.
No, this needs to be accessible for everyone, because this is how you build your next generation.
I'm glad that they put it on. I'm glad that they did put it on HBO Max next day.
Yes.
By 9 a.m. Eastern time, it's ready to go, and you can watch it Sunday morning with the kids.
And that's what we've done. And I ended up buying it on digital, and I hope that if this,
I got the first season on DVD, but they haven't released any others.
I'm hoping that we might just get a Blu-ray, all 3 release. That's kind of what I've been holding off for before I buy a physical for it, is a complete. So we'll see. because I really would. I love animation in higher res, like Blu-ray and stuff. But let us know your thoughts, dear listeners. Remember that James is awesome. He's powered by the red energy, which makes him Supergirl. And I'm awesome, and I'm powered by the blue. And together,
that's Superman.
What was it the other day? I did something, and someone was like, "Dad, how you know that?" And I'm like, "I'm everywhere." And Jania goes, "You've heard of Superman red and blue? Your dad's got them both. 2 dads."
There you go. Speaking of red and blue, they got that McFarlane figure, two set of the red and blue.
I know.
That I pre-ordered.
Everyone, you and Levi, everyone got it but me. But hopefully,
seriously,
I'm just, times are tough.
Oh yeah, I feel that. Feel it.
Hello, I'm calling. Hello, I'm in the car, and I think the car is recording. I'm running an experiment. But I wanted to talk about Spider-Man for a quick second. And not about just like a review, but I want to talk about what Marvel is doing with Spider-Man that DC is not doing. And that's cultivating. You see, why is Spider-Man so successful? Let's look at the past 10 years. Just the past 10 years, okay? So we got Tom Holland's first appearance, Civil War, 10 years ago. So if you were a kid and you were 8 then, you're 18 now, and you've been a fan since then. If you were like my kids and younger then, you've grown up with him films. But it's not just that. See, Marvel has done a great job of cultivating because they've had 2 different Spider-Man animated series in the past few years. One was and The Friendly Neighborhood, season 2 will be dropping this year. But they also created Spider-Man and his amazing friends on Disney Junior. And that is the key. Because that hooks them in as soon as they're able to walk, talk, and how kids do I interact with on my caseload that love Spider-Man, but that is their intro. And then as they grow up, they have the cartoons and now the movies. And you've cultivated a lifelong fan. What has DC done? Right, I'll pause. Every attempt to create something failed. DC Superhero Girls, it came and went before people even know it existed. I remember it came out. My daughter liked it. I bought the second season. The first season was on Netflix. Then it was gone. Toys were all clearanced out and gone. Teen Titans Go has been around forever, and it's not really drawing anyone in because it's not even pushed that hard, and it just is what it is. The best thing they have to bring in new fans for kids is My Adventure with Superman. And right now, it's on Adult Swim and on HBO Max, but there's no toys. There's no promotion. Like, you go Disney Channel, Disney XD, Nick Jr. throws Spider-Man and his amazing friends at you constantly. Constantly. And that's how you're getting younger fans, and you're building your audience for life. You know, we got Batwheels. Okay. But that's about Batman's cars than it is about Batman himself. That family was a piece of crap. The kids and I couldn't even make it to the first episode. So tell me again, what's DC doing to make sure that after my generation is on, what generation of fans are there? What is their introduction? You know, I think these characters, and we're using Batman because that's usually DC's biggest front runner, you multi-layer that character. You have something for little kids, like Batwheels, even though I don't think it's the greatest choice. Then you have something for, you know, your average child age, an animated series. Then you have something, you know, for your adults, which is like the Batman and movies like that. And like I said before, movies are more family Cape Crusader Season 2. It's really good, but it's not a kid's show. And that's okay if you had an alternative. But then you have that family that's so dumb and crappy that not even kids don't even like it, and neither do the parents. You're not making quality. I've watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends with some Case kids and with my kids when it first came out when they were still young, and it was enjoyable. I've watched Battle, and it was okay. It was enjoyable. But like I said, that was more about the vehicles than the characters. So what are your thoughts on DC cultivating the next generation? Look at the DC universe. We've talked about this. Everything's been leaning towards adult, but Superman and Blue Beetle, if you include, and they should be including that and really making that known so that people will go back and find that movie. Well, I'm driving through a horrible storm right now, and I'm trying to keep my eye focused, so I'm talking about Superman and DC. But think of it, everybody. This is in the car with Ty. I'm driving to work, and I went to bed last night with lanterns on the brain. I woke up this morning, and I just got a couple of thoughts. And one of my biggest thoughts is DCU has a problem, and it's a problem that has been perpetuated through DC Comics media for a while, and that means they don't have anything for the general audience family accessible. And if anyone who's getting tired of me talking family, just needs to back down, because we look at the MCU. Spider-Man made over $1 billion. It's a good movie. It's got things in it that are mature, but it's also things that kids can watch and see, and was enjoyable. Doomsday is going to be very similar in that vein. But DC can't seem to get there because every project that's been moving forward has been this darker take. And Lanterns was good. A lot of the use of the F word. Some character choices that felt very out of place. Jon Stewart, you know what I'm talking about. And I feel that with Green Lantern being this big, a character that needs to really shine, we can't afford to be having this where we're promoting this as part of the DC, but we're cutting off part of the fan base. Much like my issues with Peacemaker Season 2 was like, follow the DC universe after Superman. But Peacemaker Season 2 is not for the same fan base that Superman was. And then Supergirl being a little bit more edgy, like it was, and which is fine, because I feel like that's the perfect way of walking the line. And I keep talking about, we need to talk about Blue Beetle. Solomon watched that yesterday and was all excited and just really enjoyed it. And I'm like, that's what we need. That's what we need. That's how DC brand is going to carry. And the other thing I'm going to say is Tom King is a good writer, but he's never written anything that I love and behold. I don't know the guy. I can't talk about anybody personally. I'm talking about the work. But the last incarnation of DC, and I mean everything, was powered by Jeff Johns and his stories, right? So my thing is, Jeff Johns has so many beloved stories of how he shoots his characters. What if Tom King does have that's beloved,
that's really resonating? Because, they basically, James Gunn has switched out Jeff Johns for Tom King. And I don't see that as being maybe the best idea. 10 years since Suicide Squad hit cinemas, and it's still being debated and discussed today. And we're going to just kind of talk about it a little bit. We're going to do what's called a book discussion. Not really a book review, but just kind of a book discussion and still talk about what is up with that film. So let's jump into it, all right? 10 years ago, we all know that that Suicide Squad was coming out. And the movie was tweaked and messed with in post-production. And the final product, you can kind of feel it, that the first half feels like a montage of a film. There was always rumors of the Ayer cut. And David Ayers talked about his cut and what it was. And so I bought the novelization because usually the novelization are based off the original script. And, you know, maybe I get some more insight into what the Ayer cut may hold. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit and just kind of see what everyone's thoughts are here. But first, we'll talk about. Here's my notes. You can hear the paper crinkle, crinkle. In the novel, let's talk about some of the things in the novel. Is the Joker is described as much taller, muscular figure. We know that dialogue leaked from the early screenplay, but it's in the early drafts, and that's how he's described, which is very interesting for the Joker. There's like 20 pages in the opening. It's like June Moon's journey, becoming Enchantress, and the book is broken up into 3 parts, which is like the character intro, the formation of the Suicide Squad, the Midway City, the final battle, and the ending. So the next part, Joker is getting broken out of Arkham. There's more interaction. The scene with Monster in the club, the Joker, how he treats Harley more like a pet. We see that, and how he basically gets Monster T to kill himself. We meet Deadshot's ex-wife earlier in some extra scenes. We really get more about Joker and Harley's toxic relationship, and more allusions to what happened with Robin. Then we get the Suicide Squad in prison, and the prison guard Griggs. He's not goofy like he would be later in the film. We're followed by Flag meeting June and the entrance of Waller. There's some more of the background characters like the sergeant and everything. Then we have Waller pitching the idea of the team and Belle Rev. The need of the team wide. Then the Joker learns about Harley, and he likes, like I said, their likes are like a pet, and the romance is really kind of pushed down and really not pushed to the side, if that really was what you can call it. And then we get the scene where Flag finally kisses with Moon and kind of falls for June. There's more like with just what things that the Joker is up to, and we finally get Incubus revealed. Now we're about 121 pages into it when the second part, which we now is the Suicide Squad, and it's formed on page 136. So in part 2 we meet the SEALs. A lot of part 2 is the same as the film, just more interaction between everyone. We have the Eye of the Advocacy, what they call the villain, and the monsters are a little bit more different. We have more flashbacks with Diablo, more with Joker and Harley and how he tears her down. We can see Joker survive the helicopter crash. Part 2 ends on page 291. Part 3 is basically, the final battle, and it's very close to what the movie is, and Dr. Moon is back. So the book is really weird because it has all this stuff in it, but then there's stuff that we've heard Ayer talk about, and I was very disappointed when reading the book. Because we know that Ayer talked about scenes where the Joker is more involved with things, and the Joker actually beats on Harley, and we see that abusive relationship. We also have more with Katana, and we see her with the sword and actually talking and taking the souls into the sword. There's clips of this in the original trailers. as well as there was discussion that Incubus wasn't supposed to be the villain, but it was supposed to be Steppenwolf, leading to where he appears more in Justice League, and that there were supposed to be parademons that were part of it instead of these other monstrous things that are happening. So what we've learned is the novel gives us no more insight into what Ayer's vision was and his edit is, and I still champion to see the Ayer cut because I think it would help with everyone's opinion on what Jared Leto's Joker is. I'm not saying it's the best, but I feel like he gave a performance that was then cut in post, and most of his work is left on the cutting room floor. But check out, we will be watching Suicide Squad live and having a connection with our fans on YouTube. Thank you. We interrupt this broadcast for this special news bulletin. This is a Krypton Report special. We're cutting in. We're going to talk about Lanterns, the pilot, just because I think it just merits some conversation. There's going to be some spoilers as we discuss. Maybe a little bit of language, just a forewarning, just as we talk about some adult themes. But I got the group back: James, the man, and Levi, the other man, and me, the blue man.
Red man, the blue man, and the round man.
So we're here to talk about.
Or is he a green man today?
Yeah, maybe. Blue man, that makes me a guardian, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. We got Lanterns. It dropped last night. First of all, spoiler free, just your first thoughts, quick thoughts here. We'll start with James.
I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. It had a much lighter tone, at least for the pilot, than the trailer has kind of given on. Definitely seemed like it could be much more dour. But yeah, really, for the most part, I enjoyed the pilot a lot.
All right, Levi.
I mean, same. Bit more humor than I was expecting based off the trailer, kind of like James said. I loved Aaron Pierre as John already, although I want to see more of him. But Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, I thought it was good casting when they announced it. I think it's brilliant casting after that first episode. He does old Hal so well.
Oh, I mean, so okay, first of all, let's state this. He basically shows and he plays 3 different versions of Hal Jordan. And I think he nails all 3 versions. And one of the reasons I wanted us to talk today was because I wanted to say a couple of things for people, because I've watched fans be very divided, and some of the comments shows that people just don't pay attention or think. Okay? And have you guys watched the trailer that was released for episode 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Okay. So
It was like Lanterns the Coming Weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna get into a little bit more here now. Spoilers ahead. It opens up in 1996 with a child, John Stewart, watching as they talk about the house. This was the first 5 minutes that was released online. Hal Jordan is Green Lantern. He kind of tells the world who he is. So that's kind of like one version of Hal Jordan, the 1996 version. And then we see John Stewart's father, John Sr., shoot an apple off his head to prove he has no fear. So first of all, that's kind of psycho, okay?
Yeah, extremely psycho.
As a parent,
That's the only time that stuff happens is like bow and arrows, pretty much, or like knife throwing performers, like performing families. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and my wife goes, She looks at me. She goes, "Where were you on that one with work, Tyler?" I said, "I was 11, Chania. I was 11." Okay. I'm not going to come running to save Child Protective Services as 11. Okay. But it is an alarming state.
That is
And
absolutely a CPS call.
yes, it is. And as you can see in the background, there are multiple bullet holes.
It raises.
Yeah, as it gets taller.
So it makes you question what exact the purpose is. Just raising him to be fearless or raising him to be the next Green Lantern, which I think is interesting because how much did they already know? Because he talks about things and they say, what's in the job description? And he's like, not being afraid. I think that's going to be an interesting through line that I hope they address, is what it means to be not afraid or fearless and how that can get you in trouble because that's taking away a natural sense. That's why I'm much more in line with the, like, when we get Kyle and it's to overcome fear compared to just being fearless. And did you guys ever, I think one time the word will was mentioned. And I think it's when he made the $20 bill.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like, I, willed it on my own. And I think instead of, I think that's something I'd like to see them discuss a little bit more, is like having just not only no fear, but having willpower.
Yeah. And in this episode, when we see constructs, it's small. They're small constructs. The first construct that happens, we don't even see. And that's when John goes over the cliff in the car and he asks him what he did. And he wrapped himself in bubble wrap.
Now, okay, so here's something I was going to ask you. I've read a crap ton of Green Lantern this year. I've talked about that. We talked about that in our last episodes. I went ahead. I've continued to read more. I read Far Sector, the Joe Mullins story that introduces her and how her ring is different because of the type of will it's based on. It was like an experiment, which I find fascinating. So I say that because it's just interesting because with this, we're getting I lost my train of thought. Crap. The ring, it's supposed to choose you. The Guardians choose you, but the ring's supposed to choose you. And only those who are chosen can use the ring. Because I feel like the way they've demonstrated so far in this is whoever has the ring on can use it. Are you guys getting that feel, or do you feel like just because the Guardians also chose John Stewart?
I feel like because they chose John Stewart, that, that's why he's able to use the ring. I don't think anybody can just grab the ring and be able to use it.
And see, and that's how I feel too. But I feel like this is one of those things that they don't make blatant.
Well, they also go into the thing that the ring chose Hal. He got it the old-fashioned way. A lantern died, and the ring chose him to take up the mantle. So John is kind of like an anomaly at this point, like
I think
brought in to be a trainee and brought up, chosen to be a lantern before he got a ring or before somebody died.
Yeah, I think based off the trailers, Sinestro's coup attempt is changing the way the Guardians do things. And Hal and Sinestro always having a close relationship. Before Sinestro goes bad, it makes sense that if they're doing an experiment with hand-picking replacements, you probably start with Hal.
Yeah. So the main storyline seems to take place. We have 2016 is our main timeline, which I'm calling Clean Shaven John. And then at the end, we get our second timeline, which is 2026, post Superman, which I'm called Bearded John. Okay.
Let's go T, John.
You know, so I thought it was great because it's a call out to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So I loved that. It also helps differentiate the timelines. Now, this is I think what a lot of people don't realize, and this pissing me off online, is it's 2016. Okay? Modern day is 2025, 2026, right? Yeah, Guy Gardner's not a Lantern yet in 2016. So people are like, oh, but there's Guy. How's Guy a Lantern?
Hal.
They're like, Hal said there's only one. Yeah, dumbass, because it's 2016. Not the modern day. Okay, now.
Or, yeah, no, because they do talk about only one lantern. So at this point, John would be like the second lantern.
Exactly. You know, and Guy will come along, and we're supposed to get his story and everything in here, which is great that we're going to.
I wonder if the story is going to progress to explain why there's 3 lanterns for the sector. Then, you know, because there was only one before, and Hal did mention something about them like wanting to keep lanterns away from Earth. We know that in the comics, it's, you know, because they don't feel like Earthlings are
well, that's how they
evolved
did
enough
feel.
Species to be, but
that's how they did feel. And one of the more recent comics that I read, because I've read so much it blends in my brain, was that Earth, there's so many lanterns from Earth now because Earth produces great heroes. And that's part of why we keep getting lanterns. I mean, and the fact that each lantern has a weird like ring story, that how they got their ring at this point. Like Joe Mullins is an experimental ring. Hal Jordan's ring is basically him. It's his own will energy. He willed his own ring to life. Simon Baz's was created by Sinestro. Jessica Cruz's was a power ring that was turned to a Green Lantern ring. John is still John's ring. Kyle's was given to him, you know, after with everything that's happened. So, I mean, there's different reasons why these lanterns have the rings that they have. But we have this mystery. Like I said, we have this dual mystery about this town. Now, I have a question for you guys. We're kind of jumping around here a little bit, okay? But I have a question. At the end of the show, do you think John still doesn't have a ring? In 2026, do you think he still doesn't have a ring?
He doesn't, because they show him reaching down with his right hand.
Is it his? As I was trying to say, that's what I was trying to remember. Like, was it his right hand that he reached down with?
It was, yeah.
Interesting.
So for
I
10
think he was looking for the ring to take it, to be honest.
But
so,
see, my thing
did
is,
somebody kill Hal Jordan and take the ring, or trap the ring so it can't go to John Stewart?
I've seen an interesting theory.
Okay, what's your theory? What you got? What's cooking?
This will jump around a little bit. So bear with me. Macon, the militia guy,
yeah,
is going to be William Hand.
Yep, I've seen that too, and I kind of like that.
As soon as I saw that theory, I was like, oh, this makes sense. We're doing a version of Secret Origin in a sense, because Secret Origin's as much about William Hand as it is Hal.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I am okay with him being William Hand. Also, what do you think his secret employer is? Any thoughts on that? I was wondering if it's going to be Hector Hammond.
Pie in the sky? I'm hoping it's more aliens. I'm hoping it's something like Atrocitus. We know they're doing Manhunters.
I know they're doing... Yeah.
Atrocitus has beef with the Manhunters.
But they'll probably want to move something forward.
So I was thinking, I wonder if I was like Hector Hammond, just trying to tie it in some secret organization, because we know how Hammond was towards aliens, and they're there to protect from aliens.
Or yeah, what DEO? If there's a government agency,
Argus. Well, Argus is gone, I guess, technically in the continuity now.
Yeah, no. Argus is by Flag. Flag's leading Argus.
well, I mean, what they talk about, because it's DEO is extraterrestrial,
Mhm.
So in 2016, that's 20 years later, they talk about the implications of alien life out there, but not necessarily alien or aliens on Earth. So like I feel like the like by that time in 2016, the government would want to, sort of police or train some people, try and be, a deterrent.
Okay. See, that makes sense. So, like I said, I feel like there's a lot of layers to this.
I think once, I mean, I like this is probably going to be something, but it's also in the middle of nowhere, so a big event like this in the middle of nowhere kind of would not be like as big of a I mean, obviously, I think it'll be national news, but obviously the time as what it is. But when Superman comes out as an alien and he's flying all over the planet, saving people and doing this huge thing, I think the implications become much bigger, at that point in time. Whereas before, like in 2016, it's, it's just something that they're monitoring or something,
I'm going to call it now. John has his own ring. Go back and watch the scene. His right hand is already underneath Hal's hand. You don't see his ring finger. You don't see his hand, his fingers. His hand is under Hal's, and he reaches over with his left hand. Because if they do some bullcrap where for 10 years John hasn't had a ring, that's some crap on the character and the story. Because I'm pretty sure we saw images of what Jon Stewart's ring's supposed to look like. Because what we know is that Guy Gardner's ring, which I'm wearing right now, is different than Hal Jordan's. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think that John has his own ring. Because if he doesn't, that's going to make me very frustrated.
Well, and one thing that I did see, or see a rumor of, is that Aaron Pierre is going to pretty much resemble the Jon Stewart that we know from the comics. You know what I mean? I don't know that he's going to have a bigger, bulkier suit. I want to see what it looks like, but yeah, that would be really awesome. Very reminiscent of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited or the comics.
See, my one thing right now is they have, Hal training John and everything at the same time. But my question is, if the Guardians weren't doing something, shouldn't he be on Oa training with Kilowog? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if you get someone who's going to be a replacement and then they never get the ring, that's just setting them up to be an evil Lantern of some sort. So I think there's more towards who John represents, what he represents, and everything, than just he's supposed to be training to replace Hal Jordan. But I think there's more to it.
Yeah. So back to the show. I mean, I like, being able to have it like set in like Nebraska or whatever, kind of give it that almost low budget, grounded almost feel, but everything is definitely aliens and superpowers, and I mean, like the guy was talking about a bomb attached to his skeleton, and he detonates himself. He creates a bubble to contain the explosion. The way that the small town sheriff is played so brilliantly, and so just smart. Like, he spent the night in the broom closet. Like, I would let him see, go in the cell next to, what I mean? Like, she's smart.
I love because you see how Jordan interacting with people, but then you see how he acts with Jon Stewart. And I think that's the character that we're going to explore. I mean, a lot of the footage that we saw in this episode was in the trailer, which I like. I'm cool with. But I love when he's in court. He's like, I'm Green Lantern. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the suit real quick. The one thing that I did like, the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, the suit was energy, because it's a construct. Like, the suit comes from the ring, it's a construct. I don't mind if it's an actual physical suit too, but I would like there to be, like, you put on a suit and there's energy flowing through the suit or something. Guy Gardner's suit doesn't bother me because he's part of the Justice Gang by Lord Tech. So I would like, the suit to actually look more powerful. What about you, Levi? You're muted.
Train going by earlier. I get it. At the same time, there's a line when they ask how come he's not wearing the suit, and he says he brings it out for special occasions because if he wears it all the time, people expect stuff. I feel like by 2016, he's been a Lantern for at least 10 years.
Oh, he's been the Lantern because he revealed himself in 96.
Yeah, by then it's at least 20 years.
It's but how many years was he already here? They say it like he had been on Earth or whatever for a while before even revealing himself.
So my thought is, at this point, he knows how to tamp down the energy and doesn't display it.
I think it's going to be that we see that he's had, much like the comics, he's had his fight and bump with the Guardians, and he's not happy with them. And I think that's going to, whatever fell out with Sinestro, is going to be where he is not on Sinestro, like he doesn't align with Sinestro, but he understands why he did what he did. And I think we're going to see that more come out. So based on some people did some timeline stuff, Hal Jordan was Green Lantern for 9 years before baby Kal-El landed on Earth. So that's interesting, because I want to see like Kilowog, because I feel like and everything, but we'll get into all that more as the show goes on, because we're going to do a whole episode in October. We're going to go back and we're going to talk about the whole season. But I thought we just kind of needed a good base of where we think, and because I get so dumb, I get so tired of dumb people talking online. I got to throw stuff out there. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see eventually a few episodes in Hal and John kind of reconcile and like work together more. And John has his own ring if possible, so that we can see them working together as more of what the Guardians plot of, because we know the Guardians don't trust Hal at this time. But let's talk about how you guys feel about the tone of this, because I didn't mind everything, but I will say that there was a lot of F words.
I mean, this is a show I'd show to my kid.
And that's one of the problems that I have, is because, once again, we're building up a DC universe that's more adult, and we're not doing anything to help with the next layer of fandom. They're promoting this just like we talked about before, like, oh, if you like Superman, the next chapter of the DC universe is Peacemaker Season 2. those two do not correlate. Just because you liked what Superman was, you watched Peacemaker, that's like a whole other, especially that first episode or two of Peacemaker season 2, especially. So I feel like I like the show. I like Lanterns, don't get me wrong. There's things that I don't like about it. And I wish I didn't have to say that. I don't need everything to be kid friendly, but something that like my kids could watch it because the language they hear in life, I do think that they were a little excessive at times. I was just like, Kyle Chandler's just having fun with it, you know?
I honestly expected more than the way they were talking about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it really didn't get me that much. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit more adult, a little bit more mature. Jon Stewart after the bar in the truck.
Yeah, let's get to that because that actually pissed me off. Because this whole time we're seeing John as I'm on a mission. I'm doing the work. I'm very committed. I'm very focused. And I felt like that was a very out of character act.
I don't know. I feel like at this point he's literally just in a waiting game in the case as it were. You know what I mean? Like Hal's trying to go talk to the only person that they can talk to. What else is he? You know what I mean? Like this is kind of like just your little bit of off time.
But you're in a territory. You have no idea how this town's going to react. You know, Hal's talking about aliens. Something is off, and you're just willfully like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just hook up with this lady at a bar that I just met. You have no idea who she is or what she is. I almost think she was a plant to have something on John to like stain him and hold against him.
I will say
it's not like it's a secret though.
It was the least enthusiastic sex scene I've ever seen.
I mean, yeah, and I'm seeing people post stuff online. I'm like, I don't like to talk about people, like, but I don't think she's an attractive lady. So some of these comments I'm seeing online, I'm just like, okay. But also she doesn't look like she's related to anybody, as we find out that she's actually the sheriff's mother-in-law and a grandma. So good job, John. Just, but I just felt that it was very out of character from the character that we were just introduced to. The Mr. Yes Sir.
He's a military man. We don't know how he really is in that regard, though, when it comes to, base to base, doing things and moving on. You know what I'm saying?
He's not a sailor. He's not in port.
It's the same. It's the same scenario, man.
I know what you're trying to say.
But
I know what you're trying.
And I think that it really set up a great joke that I was like, for the whole show, I was like, he's doing a great job as Hal. I am enjoying him as Hal, especially getting to see his backup construct come from the ring and have a whole different personality from 10 years prior to that in 2006. So that was really cool to see that. But then he's like, I may have slept with his wife.
May
have. He's like, I definitely slept with his wife, and he knows. Apparently, we've been here for. He said, "Jesus Christ, we've been here for 24 hours," and then he's like, "I'm impressed." I was like, "That." I was like, "That's Hal."
Hal Jordan. That is Hal Jordan.
And that's why I'm
young Hal Jordan showing through right there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that Kyle Chandler is nailing it, and we see different layers of his Hal Jordan from the different time periods. Maybe if they had shot and filmed that scene with John a little bit differently, I would understand. I don't like it. I don't like the way it was done. I felt like it was out of character. But let's talk about the final scene in 2026. John shows back up to the town, and we have a murdered Hal Jordan. Okay, so for everyone who's freaking out and angry they killed off Hal, yes, but we've also learned that we have a 10-year in between the two storylines of Hal Jordan. We have the past with Hal Jordan. We just know that we can't go from this moment forward.
Yeah.
You know, so
By
Hal
the
Jordan's
time-
not going to.
Yeah. It's Hal 45 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to think. So let's look at it like this. How old do you think John was at the beginning?
In 1996?
Yeah.
I mean, 11,
Yeah, I was
give
gonna
or
say,
take.
Okay, so he's
11.
our age, James. Okay, let's just say he's our age. Okay, so that means in 2016 he's like 31, and now in 2026 he's 41. So how much older is Hal? You know what I'm saying? Like, so eventually, you know, Hal's not going to be around anymore. So my thought is, that's why I'm saying I hope to God they didn't do where John's just waiting around for 10 years. I like the idea that him and Hal separated. Hal went to doing their own things, their own missions. Hal was brought back here and someone killed him. And now John's going to figure out who killed him.
I think, personal theory, I don't think Hal's dead. I think they're going Beware My Power route and making it look like he's dead, and then bringing him back later on in the show with Yellow Ring. That's my personal.
See, I think that would be awesome too. You know, I do think it's interesting.
That was the vibe I got from the show.
I do think, because we know we're going to see him more in the past. Like, he's not done. This isn't like Kyle Chandler's only episode. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to be in the past. So Hal Jordan's going to be in the past.
Yeah,
timeline.
the whole Manhunter storyline is in 2016, and I think that's the bulk of what we're going to see.
And Guy is in 2026. But my thing is the way he's shot in the head, almost like a sniper. And we know that John is a sniper. So I've seen some people say, "Oh, is it John's dad?" I think that'd be really weird. But I'm thinking that I'm wondering if Hal was not even like killed and then placed there. You know, like they're sending a message. So I'm interested.
That's where we're going to open up into the next episode is 2026 and then go back again. After a short little bit, maybe a cold open in 2026 or something like that, and then go back, kind of pick up where we left off.
Probably.
Yeah. So my thing is, I like the show. I'm in. I wish it wasn't as adult as it is, just because I feel like it's almost like they swung the other way. Like, oh, the Ryan Reynolds was too much, comic booky big. We need to go completely different. Because I do want this DC universe to thrive, and you're not going to thrive if you keep making things that are limiting your audience. And it's one thing when you do a show with R that's very adult, when it's Peacemaker, some CD level character that your biggest thing is because it's John Cena. It's another thing when you're using one of the big seven.
Yeah, I mean, we got My Adventures with Superman, got My Adventures with Green Lantern coming, Blue Beetle animated series, Mr. Miracle animated series,
which will probably
that are all supposed to be tied in.
I think Mr. Miracle is going to be an adult animated series.
It might be, because if they're going to do apocalypse stuff,
have you read that book yet? The Tom King?
No, actually, I haven't. No,
and
I heard it was really good. That's actually on one of my to do.
And that's the other thing is I feel like I was thinking about this today. We have Tom King, who's kind of heading this as like the DC side, but there's nothing that Tom King has done that I feel like has revolutionized comics and it's really made me champion, like, oh my God, I love Tom King. I've enjoyed some of his stuff, and before we talk about DC is like everybody was pulling from Jeff Johns inspired, and you had Jeff Johns looking at stuff, and Jeff Johns revolutionized DC Comics for a new generation and everything, and made some great groundbreaking stories. Like if you were to start pulling Tom King stories versus Jeff Johns, who do you think is going to win?
Probably Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns. There's no probably to it. Much like there was no might have. There's no probably to it.
No, I mean, yeah, Jeff Johns definitely has more of the stories you can pull from the DC library, and that are definite hits for so many characters. I don't know what his award thing is like, but also he's been writing for quite a bit longer too. So,
but
I feel
my
like
thing is,
time-wise, he might have more.
It's just like this right here. Is the show being liked by critics? Yes, and by people, yeah, but people who are actually hardcore fans of Green Lantern and these characters, how are they feeling? People who read all of this, because I think
I've heard
King,
a couple over. I've heard a couple over today, and so far so good.
You can be a critically acclaimed writer, but then it's one of those oh, that was good, but I'll never go back to it. Or you can write great stories that people reference all the time and you don't have an award for it. But people talk about your book and love your writing and has influenced more people than
because there's
else.
seminal moments in the character. You know what I mean? And the characters, as opposed to just that, has really great themes and is written very well. And, but are they seminal moments, or do they change a character or the universe for one reason or another? And I don't think really anything he's done has, for the most part.
Supergirl, and even then it was like a one-off, because that kind of the Supergirl we met there didn't really kind of carry over. But
and like what did I say? That book, the POV character is Ruthie. The narrator is Ruthie. Supergirl is great in it, but she's just along for the ride, and she is playing just a good. She's just written well, but she does not have a character arc in the story.
So, but that's where we're going to put a pin in this. We could keep going. It was just to touch base, set up our expectations, our quick thoughts. We will be back for Lantern discussion in October when the series ends, and we will talk about the whole season as a whole. Send us your thoughts. We'll have Levi back for that, because each one of us, I think, brings a great different look. We have our John Stewart, Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner right here, so that's what we got to do. All right, good listeners, get ready for life, and remember,
look up in the sky.
Thank you for checking out the Krypton Report. Please click our link tree in the show notes to follow us on your favorite social media platform. We have a $1 Patreon, just $1 a month to keep us going, and in return you get exclusive shows and specials. If you want to join us on an episode, send us an email or a message.
Hi, this is David Patrick Wilson. I played Superman, Clark Kent, in the television production of It's a Bird, It's a Plane. Enjoying every minute of being right here on the Krypton Report.